Welcome to another episode of Krazee J Outside the Fire with Krazee J. I'm, of course, your host, Krazee J. And as you know, this series has focused on the Zest Fest competitors. And I have weaseled my way through the entire field. I have just 2 more interviews to do. So please, without further ado, please help me welcome my next guest, who makes pain look like it doesn't hurt, who almost looks bored when he burns, but people still look up to him and people just want to know how he does it. Please help me welcome the Atomic Menace, Dustin Johnson.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, and of course, thank you for your time. I know everybody's got the busy life, and like I said, I try to squeeze 30 minutes of your time from you. So thank you for this.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's hard to find time to sit down and just chill, do something.
For sure, for sure. And most of us know that you're known for your short little 30 second to 1 minute clips of seeing you, just kind of watching you on, like I said, almost look bored while you're doing your thing. And so if you don't mind, just quickly introduce yourself and how you became the Atomic Menace, please.
Well, Dustin Johnson, Atomic Menace. I've been in the spice community, kind of poking around for almost 5 years now, I'd say. It's probably 2018. I started watching Johnny Scoville on YouTube and was like, all right, this dude's a lunatic. Some of the stuff he was doing, I didn't really anticipate I could keep up with or anything like that.
Mhm.
My wife asked me, how come you don't seem to ever have to like blow your nose or anything eating spicy food? So I was like, let's find out. And started trying different things. And when I realized I wasn't reacting very much, Johnny was coming out with the Tube of Terror. And I dropped a comment on one of his socials and said, hey, I'm going to do this without reacting. 2 tubes.
Wow.
And another person found that and was like, sure, dude, because a lot of people talk.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I already did it, so here's the link. And he was like, dude. And then he just added me to like every Chilli Head group and made some good friends, met some interesting people, and it just snowballed into this.
Very cool. So yeah, and this is something you've always been into or something you recently got into? Like, have you always like enjoyed like spicier type of foods growing up, or is it just something you kind of, like you said, you jumped in and wanted to try and found out that you're good at it?
No, I've always eaten spicy food. And that's probably, a huge part of my tolerance. I don't know if there's something genetic, of course, but the like one of the earliest things I remember, because I was always eating hot sauce even when I was young, and I don't know what influenced me to do so because none of my family does, but I remember getting my sister to try things and she was like, freak out every time, and it was hilarious. And I just would push into the hottest thing I could and found, I remember like Wingstop, their hottest wings, the Atomic, and that being hard to finish, like 10 boneless wings or something like that.
Right.
And from there, it's just progressively gotten worse. It was always whatever the hottest is, I'll order that, and then one thing with flavor. And that's how I've always ordered, wings or whatever.
For sure. I found that wings are my strong point too. And now I don't think I've gone overboard with everything, but I usually try to get the hotter wings and take on the wing challenges where I'm available. I'd like to travel a little more and try out some of the more famous ones, but
yeah,
I kind of think they're my strong point.
Yeah, I would definitely like to try some of the ones I've seen around too. I think one of the for sure things like Quicker Steak and Lube I've heard is pretty good. Hungry Howie's or whatever it is, I forget what it is. It's down in California. A hot chicken place down there, stuff like that. But we actually just got a place here in Vegas called Houston's. Come to find out, it's some dude with money, and he's on YouTube and has a fairly big channel. He started the chicken chain here, and it's pretty hot. That one's
cool.
Probably legit challenge level for hot chicken.
Awesome. Yeah, so obviously you've been referred to as the robot, like I said, for your almost seemingly boring, I don't want to say boring, but boredom of the burn. And we know that it's not necessarily that you don't feel it, but is this something that you've always had like a high tolerance for pain, or is it the heat that you can just handle really well?
I would say I don't think I feel pain on any extraordinary level, or don't feel pain, like,
Right.
something extraordinary like that. But heat itself is something that even if it's like really starting to hit hard, I feel it, across the tongue, into the throat, whiskey chest, I'll feel my stomach getting warm for challenges, but it doesn't, I think part of it is that it just doesn't hit my sinuses and make that like intense, overwhelming, like, feeling that a lot of people get maybe. But
Yeah.
I remember things being harder to finish before, for sure, but it's just gotten to the point where it's like there's no singular one thing that will overwhelm me unless I really start doing like eating a lot of it.
Yeah, like when you once held the world record for most Carolina Reapers eaten in one sitting, which is insane to me.
Yeah, that one was interesting. And I'd be curious to see how Greg would have been at the same point, give or take. But
Right.
I remember 80 or 90 pods in, I checked my heart rate and it was 135 beats per minute, just sitting.
Wow. Yeah, that, like I said, and you pushed yourself through what 40 more of those after that.
Yeah, I finished the whole box that Brandon had sent me, so I don't know how far I could go if I were to go until I couldn't.
Yeah.
But that was a rough one, aftermath wise.
I was getting ready to ask you. So a lot of people, like I said, we see you on your camera and you do your challenges. You do them legit, obviously. When you're doing an actual challenge, you post those properly. But what most people probably want to know is there an aftermath that the Atomic Menace is actually dealing with? And if so, how extreme does it get for
Um, for most challenges that I prep for with, eating a solid heavy meal beforehand, I don't have a terrible amount of aftermath for the day that I do the challenge.
you?
Generally, I will just eat a ridiculous amount of food beforehand. But short of that, the next day I will have cramping because I digest everything. I don't ever,
Right.
get everything out like a lot of people might do. But there's times where I've been excited to eat fresh pods and did not have any food in my stomach, and that's an exciting time because it does hit me, and it'll be a surprise. I'm like, I need something, and I'll literally leave work because I'll get a fresh box of pods. I order it to work, and then I'm like, oh, pods, yeah, eat a couple. Like, oh, those are good. Oh, I haven't eaten today. Run to the store and go get, I need to eat something, and that calms it down. But
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
From what I've read, I think Johnny Scoville actually takes the opposite approach when he eats pods. He likes that feeling on an empty stomach, apparently. I don't know. Maybe he's just out there.
I think we know Johnny's out there, but
We do,
but
which is awesome. But
yeah, there's a lot of people in the no prep gang, and they go for that endorphin rush from the pain. And I mean, as far as a challenge goes or a pepper contest, that's something I need to avoid just to get through whatever absurdity I'm going to do.
So it sounds like certain people are sure that it's lasers, and some type of internal mechanical digestive process.
Yeah, living tissue over an exoskeleton.
Right. Yeah. So one of the questions was asked, is there a specific meal you use, or is it just having the full stomach that helps for you?
The vast majority of my challenges on YouTube, I would eat a lot of Taco Bell. I mean,
Okay.
you've got a lot of carbs, high fat content. It's greasy, and it's cheap, and it's on the way home. so I'd be doing this stuff after work, and
Right.
but if I have a choice, barbecue food would be my ideal. So
Okay.
um, I, I'd go with I don't know, brisket's probably my favorite. You know, pulled pork, sandwich, stuff like that. A lot of
Yeah.
barbecue food is definitely really good. And I want to say that's what I ended up having against my contest with Shahina because there was a barbecue truck there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and I've heard some people go to that too. They like the hearty feel of that fullness, and where you kind of feel like there's definitely a bed of roses down there before you get to digesting that
Oh
weaponized
yeah.
fruit that it's referred to.
Yeah. And it's funny the way I've considered prep and the way it started with me is I've never gone into an insane challenge without it because the very first crazy thing I did was the Hell Wings here in Las Vegas at Wing King. And
Hmm.
I had seen Brian Ames. He had
Oh
been
yeah, yeah,
there a year
yeah.
or two before and talked about 32 hours of cramps and just
Oof.
pure insanity. So it actually made me very nervous to go into it because I'd never done anything like that. And I ended up just eating so much different stuff that afternoon before I went there that I was pretty well stuffed.
Yeah,
And I ended up, because I ordered the challenge, but I also ordered garlic parmesan because that's one of my favorites. Couldn't even touch the garlic parm wings because by the time I was done with 12 wings on top of the food I had eaten, I was like, I'm stuffed, I'm done. And they asked me if I want ice cream. I said, no, I don't need ice cream. I don't want to eat anything. I'm
right.
too full.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people use dairy to calm the heat, but I find it actually kind of encourages me to get it back out when I use the dairy. It doesn't like to stay in there very long.
And enough dairy, I could see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 1 gallon milk challenge is a challenge for a reason.
Yeah, well, yeah, and like I said, I think people they kind of freak out and then they go extreme with the amount that they drink, and then if it's not whole
Oh
milk
yeah,
or high fat milk, they don't realize that they're doing more harm than good, and for sure.
oh yeah.
So going back, you were talking about extreme challenges. What would you say is the toughest challenge, whether it be League of Fire or somebody had created that you've ever had to put yourself through while you were doing it?
I would say the hardest challenge is probably the one I did not finish, and props to Roger over at Hot Dang for doing it. And from what I hear, twice he did it. The V2 chug when I attempted 15 of them, so 1.5 liters of scorpion hot
Yeah.
sauce or
Yes.
chocolate scorpion. Yeah. At 10 or 11 bottles, I stopped for probably 5 minutes just to sit there and rock around with cramps and decide if I was going to keep going.
Yeah.
That's probably the hardest hitting thing I've done. And I would say maybe a close second to that because I think liquids hit the hardest. Right over your shoulder there, I see some, I think those are Queen's chugs.
Yeah, they're up. Yep. There's 5 of those.
I did 12, I think. And that was definitely, I mean, that was all I got my hands on at the time.
Right.
But I think if I had pushed into the same territory volume wise, it would have been as hard or harder for
Oh
sure.
yeah. And I
But
will
yeah,
say that the Queen Chug was the very first chug challenge I ever volunteered myself to do, and I didn't really prep for that either. Not like super, and I didn't know how sauces hit my body. And I
yeah,
by burn profile, even though it's got a good bit of heat, I said, man, I could probably do 4 or 5 of them. And then afterwards is when I really felt the cramps for about 4 hours for me. Oof.
yeah. I'm sure the extract is easily one of the hardest hitting things, and that's
Yeah,
another reason why like Johnny's insane.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And I've witnessed you doing those a couple of the different sauce chugs at multiple levels, and I thought like you and what was the Pyro Pitbull was going back and forth almost at a kind of like a battle, whether you realized it or not, or
A
if you were
little
doing
bit,
that on
yeah.
purpose or yeah, that's cool. And you finished three Nemesis bars in one sitting. Is that what I?
Yeah, and my first attempt at that, I over prepped, not anticipating the weight of 1.5 pounds of chocolate.
Yeah,
Um, so I was really only able to hold down 2 bars the first time. So I held on to the third, bought 2 more, and was like, okay, I'm going to do 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was insane. The sheer weight of it and the heat and just everything. It was just that much sugar. I don't know, 13,000 calories between the prep and the chocolate and everything. It was
Right.
absurd. I don't know how
Yeah.
professional eaters do it, honestly. Like
I
the
don't
volume
either.
eaters.
Yeah, I don't either.
I bet it feels terrible.
Most people complain about just the 8 ounce for the 1 bar, and then people are putting on top of that. And then they say that the chocolate affects people worse. Do you find yourself having a hard time with the chocolates more so, or no, not so much?
No, I find the chocolates to be easier, honestly. I don't know why.
Oh,
And I know a
yeah,
lot of people have had real trouble holding down Nemesis because of the specific time requirements.
right.
So it just hits their gut just right. But for
Mhm.
me, the chocolate doesn't bother me. You know, I'll buy the challenge bars just to snack on 2 or 3 squares at a time, stuff like
Right.
that. It's for sure it's always liquid for me, or gummies. Gummies are like time release liquid bomb.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I noticed there's not really a whole lot of gummy challenges out there, maybe for that reason.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, probably.
Plus, I mean, you can only do so much with so much. I mean, you can't if you're just going to be repeating challenges, I guess, at that point.
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite way to burn? Is it sauces, pods, tincture? What is your favorite way to reach that heat that you may be either craving or not craving, just feel like doing?
For a pure burn, a fresh pod is unbeaten to me. But for my daily usage, I go for powders and sauces. I'll use sauce minimally because it tends to alter the flavor pretty heavily. But the powders you can lay them in pretty heavy on a lot of meals and works out all right. But I think pure burn, straight fresh pods is the best, absolutely. And then I'm chugging sauces with Tink.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Uh, chocolate pods definitely have the best burn because they're so varied and can just surprise the heck out of you.
Right. What is your favorite pepper to eat, whether it be for the heat, for the flavor, or anything like that? What's your favorite one?
Oh, probably for a mix of the two with flavor and heat, Primo Tali, because it comes with a lot of heat, but it's still a good tasting pod. But straight flavor, I like the KSLS the best.
Okay. Very cool.
Um, straight heat, like I said, probably any insane chocolate pod. You know, chocolate
Mhm.
Douglas, pretty intense. The Douglas and all that.
Is there a pod that you just don't like? It just is like, I can't. I mean, I eat it, but it doesn't hit you right, or you just don't like it for the flavor.
Um, I don't like the flavor of chocolate pods in general, especially the extreme floral. But
Yeah,
there's no pod in particular that I'm just like, I will never touch that again.
right.
I don't have any major adverse reactions to any specific pod.
Mhm. Yeah. So most people in this community at least, maybe not on some of the personal profiles and stuff that I have on my Facebook and stuff, but most people know that you were on the Netflix series We Are the Champions for a pepper eating contest where you ended up winning by a speed eating part at the very end. Was that your first competition, or is there something you've experienced before that, or
I believe that was my first serious competition. Um, I want to say I've only been in 2 real pepper contests at this point because they're just
right?
not common enough in the US, I think. And
Yeah,
then, the US being the size that it is, it's hard to travel around for the ones that do exist.
sure.
Um, but yeah, I think that was my first serious contest. And closely thereafter was the one with the Shaheen up in Sacramento.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, you were in that series with a bunch of well-known at the time, very well-known people, sitting at the table with you. Was it easy for you to like find yourself being almost semi starstruck, or was it just kind of like normal routine for you at that point?
For me, going to an event like that is more like meeting with friends that you haven't seen in a long time,
Okay.
and there's some level of like, you're kind of starstruck with the people that you're hanging out with and you're seeing, but it's more of a, I've known you for a while and
Right.
we've talked a lot here and there, this, that, and the other, but seeing you in person, it feels like I already know you to some level. So for me, it's like, it was just an extremely fun experience, win or
Right.
lose at a contest. I'm happy to just be in there having fun and, meeting people and, doing whatever. Um, it's, I don't know. It's a weird experience, but it's very fun and it's really
Yeah.
cool with
I mean,
the
I've
people that
I've
you come
gathered that.
across.
Yeah, I've gathered that. I haven't been to an event like, I mean, I've been to a couple sauce festivals, but I've never been to one where I'm meeting up with the people I pretty much communicate with every day all the time. And I gather that, that's the more the atmosphere is, you're sitting at a table with people, like you said, that you feel like it's a friendly competition. So the nerves aren't really there as much in that sense.
Not for me, no.
Yeah.
And kind of like how the episode portrayed it when it showed that get together where we were all hanging out and talking. That was actually the day before the competition.
Yeah.
Um, we met up at a bar and we were all just hanging out, and Ed brought a bunch of fresh pods, and we were eating some here and there, not
Yeah.
going crazy, but
Sure.
having
Sure.
some. And he has like some Fresnos that were kind of stupid hot for being Fresnos, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But it was easy to just start hanging out, talking, you know, having a good time. It's a very easy connection to make when you're all there already with common ground.
Right. For sure. For sure. Like I said, that would have been something for me that would have been like, woo, like I thought, like even this interview, even though I've done a handful of them, like some of the people that I'm really, really meeting now, it's becoming more common for me. But at first, when I first started doing these and Jiff was hosting me in a challenge, and I was like, oh my gosh, or he would or he would pop up when I was doing one of my own things. And now I feel, so I get that. I definitely feel that, where, you just don't feel as nervous. Cause if I'd have done this a year ago when I first asked you to, I would have stumbled through this and never been able to make this a legitimate interview. So I actually thank you for pushing me. No, I'm just kidding. You didn't do that. It isn't like that. It isn't like that at all. But
uh,
yeah. So like again, I think it's awesome. Some of us know that you're very good with the Rubik's Cube, and you use that sometimes to kind of kill time while you're doing these sometimes ungodly long burn times, because you've been known to finish your products ahead of the original finish time, and then you still have to maintain the burn time as well. And what's the fastest you've ever solved a typical Rubik's Cube?
my best time is 21 seconds. I
Pretty good.
average 30 to 40 now. I haven't been able to touch 21 again, but that was at my heaviest practice point.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So other than that, is there any other talents, which I think I know one, I might even bring it up. Other people probably know it too. Any other talents that you have that people may not know or even do know about you that you would like to share with us, or even useless uncommon knowledge?
Useless uncommon knowledge. I'm probably pretty good at that.
Yeah.
um, I've always been passionate about cars.
Yeah.
I've done some racing and some modifying of cars. Um, I've done, I've learned fast raps. I haven't done my own rapping, but like fast bits to Rap God or Godzilla for Eminem, stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
Pretty good with the computer building and then using the computer for photo editing and video editing and stuff. If I sit down and really try,
Right.
I don't know. I like to dabble in a lot of things, but I wouldn't say I'm the master of anything.
Sure, sure. Yeah, the one I was gonna bring up was your ability to fast rap. I think that is absolutely amazing. And I know you've done it while burning and everything else, and it's fun to watch. You're fun to watch, even though you may not realize it. You really are. I mean, you do attract attention. People want to see you, and people just, they're like, oh, I just missed him. I just, it's for real. And and my favorite thing to do is on TikTok is to make random comments just to get those people saying, "Oh, this guy," I do that all the
Yeah.
time. So I do that to you and Chasing Capsaicin and all them guys, or Craving Capsaicin and all them guys, just to get the conversation started. So I love doing that with you guys. You make it, like I said, you make it look easy. So usually at this point of the show, I like to give you an opportunity if you want to give any plugs out to any businesses, yourself, or anybody else. This is your time to speak on that.
Oh, well, um, I mean, shout out to Ice Spice. They've got amazing sauce and some of the best hats you'll ever get out of a sauce company for sure.
Cool.
If you're searching for sauce online, if you're down in Texas, Iburn's pretty good. Shout out to Troy Primo, who's supplying the peppers for the contest coming up this week.
Yeah,
Out
that's
at
good.
Zest Fest. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, they'll be fun. He grows some very well heated peppers, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The Primo is no joke.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure. So speaking of that, one more question before we start really wrapping this up. Do you think you play like a mental game by almost, like I said, with yourself that kind of helps you with the heat? Because that was a question that I just saw somebody ask me. Like, where you kind of just sitting there and just kind of looking around. Is that a mental thing for you, or is it just because it really isn't bothering you as much as it does somebody else?
I would say the videos where I'm kind of staring and looking around, maybe on some level I'm just ignoring what I'm feeling, but
Right.
a lot of times it is boredom because I just need to pass that burn time.
Right.
If I'm really focusing, it'll be a lot more on the lines of like the check video when I was,
Right.
I just stop and just like if I start, looking up or if I'm stretching like this, that's cramps. Just gotta move around and kind of just internalize it.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I know you were one of my inspirations when I got into this chili community, just kind of discovering who you were. Of course, Johnny Scoville was one, and like you said, Brian Ames, and of course, Heather, who's been here watching us throughout this interview, and Dark, and which of course they call you Darker Horse, I guess.
Yeah, the commentary on that, the narration, it was hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, I appreciate your time. It was a big deal to get all these interviews in. For me, I started doing them last time kind of as a self-promotion type of thing, and then actually League of Fire reached out to me and asked me to hit everybody up again for this one. So I was like, man, this is cool. So it was a big deal, and I'm glad everybody had a chance. I have one more to do even later tonight. And like I said, I appreciate your time. This was an awesome interview, very casual, very calm, and I look forward to seeing you again. And I think you will obviously do very well, but you never know how that pepper might hit you.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah. So good
No,
luck in the
I think the
contest.
interviews have been awesome though, man.
Oh, I appreciate
It's on
that.
point.
Sweet. Yeah, I appreciate that. Like I said, I know you probably heard a couple of these questions before, but just try to keep it flowing.
No, it's
But
all good.
yeah,
I don't mind.
yeah. So we'll see. We'll see who takes that belt home. A lot of heavy hitters, a lot of big, a lot of people have a chance, obviously, or they wouldn't be there. That's all I'm gonna say.
I think it would look good right there on the wall.
Yeah, there's a space I see you made for it. That's for sure. All right, very cool. So I thank you and stay crazy, please.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, we'll see you again. Well, there you have it. The interview with the Atomic Menace. It was awesome experience to get to talk to him. And like I mentioned, if I would have done this interview a year ago, like I actually wanted to, there's no way I'd have been able to ask him a question without fumbling over my words. So I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that sits in on these and rewatches them later and shares them. It's a big deal to me, and hopefully this helps you get to know some of these people a little better that you may not have known about them. So I appreciate you, and of course, would like you to know that I am Krazee J and I like to do things the crazy way. So please stay crazy, my friends.